Hello and welcome to the channel. Today's video is the Iron Maiden ranking video, 17 studio albums spanning 1980 to the present day. In terms of my rock metal month, there's always going to be one band that would have to feature. First started by Iron Maiden Records in 1982, saw them live in 1983. I'm going to go and see them next year on their 50th anniversary tour. So they are, without shadow of a doubt, one of my all-time favourite bands for lots and lots of different reasons. Obviously, the music's one. I think they are kind of the masters of what they do. They're on they're more the heavy metal side than heavy rock side, but they certainly, for me, don't go to that next kind of level, which is your thrash metal, your death metal and all that. They're probably as heavy as I kind of want to go. There is still melody in the songs, which is important to me, and I just think they're a great band. As I say, the song that cemented them for me when I was younger was The Number of the Beast. I think because of the Omen references and the whole 666, we were all into horror films as young lads, and that one was just brilliant because you used to go around the schoolyard trying to check if you'd got 666 covered at the back of your head. I saw them. They were the second gig I went to at the Birmingham Odeon. Phenomenal. Anyone who's seen Iron Maiden live, they put on a great show, and as the years have gone by, they get more and more elaborate. They have their immortal mascot, which is old Eddie the Head, who turns up pretty much throughout their artwork in various guises. He's on, beer bottles, headphones. See what they did there. You can even get top drum. So I mean, Iron Maiden is brilliant, and one of the things I do love about them, they've even diversified and make their own beer now. The Trooper from Robinson's Brewery, and you can get beer bottles. Yes, I do collect the beer bottles. They're just a great band, and I do think they've got a very strong kind of brand, and they don't miss a trick to exploit it, and I think that is to be thing. So you can even buy great things like Funko Pop kind of album covers. They are phenomenal bands. So I put some of the artwork behind me. Some of the singles. I'm going to go through the albums. There's 17 of them. As ever with ranking videos, it's my opinion. It doesn't mean to say the ones at the bottom are not worth having. It just means these are the ones I would listen to the least. And if I had to kind of rescue albums, the ones at the bottom would be the ones I would risk my life for the least in a burning building. I did write down why do I love Iron Maiden. Some of the things I jotted down here was cultural references to films. There's as I said, the Number of the Beast single very much goes back to the second Omen film. Phantom of the Opera is a song of theirs. Where Eagles Dare, a lot of military stuff in the Maiden stuff. TV series get a look in. The Prisoner off one of their albums gets sampled. Poetry, Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, they do a song based on that. When I was at school, my English teacher was most impressed that I could recite chunks of that poem by Coleridge. I think I was the only one who could, but I didn't tell him it's down to Iron Maiden. The sleeve art, I've touched on it briefly, but it is absolutely phenomenal. Derek Riggs in the start in the 80s did all their sleeve work, and it really is iconic. And it references, some of the sleeves you look at, there's all kinds of things going on there. Books, things like Murder in the Rue Morgue. There was a song called To Tame a Land, which was supposed to be called June. That's obviously very popular at the moment. They've done some big movies on that, but Iron Maiden did that in the 80s. History's scattered throughout the kind of albums. There's lots of stuff, particularly military history from Alexander the Great, going all the way up to Churchill and things like that. So great band. And I'll say it again, they do brilliant things like this. This is an anniversary set that they released to celebrate kind of BBC sessions, live gigs, B-sides. They do absolutely wonderful things like that. So you got scrolls and things. So there aren't many bands that can knock out absolutely brilliant merchandise consistently. So I just think they're a phenomenally underrated band, even though they're massively successful. I don't think they get their dues, to be honest. So what would be the least, said how wonderful they are, they're not flawless, and some of their albums are better than others. So the one I would put at the bottom, I'll just explain in terms of Iron Maiden. For those that don't know, they've had 3 singers. The first singer, Paul Di'Anno, sadly passed away, and that was one of the reasons for doing this video, because it did make me kind of look back at that early part of their career. So the first 2 albums featured Paul Di'Anno. Bruce Dickinson then replaced him from The Number of the Beast, but he left around 1993-1994, and their third singer was a chap called Blaze Baisley. He did a couple of albums with them, and then Bruce Dickinson came back, and he's been there ever since. And then the one stalwart throughout the band is the bassist Steve Harris, who's like the leader. He writes most of the songs, and I think he's the boss. But the singers do make a big difference. So my least favourite album is the second album featuring Blaze Baisley, which is the Virtual 11 album. For me, I struggled with it. I struggled with this album at the time. I listened to it again this week, and I still am not a massive fan of it. The best song in it for me is a song called The Klansman, but it just feels a little bit like the energy was going from the band on this one. It was their least successful, particularly in the UK, just about scraped a top 20 chart position. It's okay, but it's not top tier Iron Maiden by quite some time. Even the cover art is a little bit poor. So my least favourite Iron Maiden, sadly, sorry Blaze Baisley, but that would be there. My 16th least favourite Iron Maiden album would be No Prayer for the Dying from 1990. This kind of shows you in a way why Bruce Dickinson had to maybe go to come back to get refreshed, because I actually think some of the writing on this is a little bit lazy. I think they were trying to do a more kind of punky, kind of back to their roots kind of album. But for me, it doesn't work. I listened to it again the other day. Some of the lyrics are pretty awful. I didn't like either of the singles, Holy Smoke and Bring Your Daughter to the Slaughter. Although it was their one and only #1, I think that was more from the fact they released it the first week of January and they knew they had a certain amount of fans to just buy everything they do, like me. But I never particularly took to that. And I honestly listened to it the other day, and the only song that I kind of thought, if I was doing a playlist of my favourite Iron Maiden songs, really the only one I thought might scrape in there would be Tail Gunner. So sorry, down at number 16, No Prayer for the Dying. It was the first album with Janet Gers on it, who replaced Adrian Smith, and I think losing Adrian Smith was not great for Iron Maiden, because I think he particularly when he teams up with Bruce Dickinson, can write some really interesting stuff that's a little bit different to what Steve Harris does. I think so. Losing him, I think, was a big blow, but I don't think the band's heart was in this, particularly Bruce Dickinson. His lyrics are a little bit atrocious on that album. So sorry, number 16, that would be that one. Number 15, now listen to this the other day, and this was better than I remembered it, to be honest with you. So when this came out, it was the first album with their third singer, Blaze. It kind of divided the fans at the time, and it was started a decline in their commercial fortunes. But I listened to this the other day, and actually I thought, well, actually musically they are trying to do something a little bit different on there. And actually the opening couple of tracks, Sign of the Cross and Lord of the Flies, are actually pretty good. It kind of wears out the whole album. It's quite a long album. I think it's one of those CD era albums where it's like 77 minutes long or something like that. It's not bad, actually. It's not as bad as I remembered it. But again, for me, that third singer maybe was a singer too far for me. So anyhow, so that would be my 15th least favourite album. Number 14, and these first 4 albums I've showed you are the ones I think are the weaker of the catalogue. After this one, I think they're pretty solid albums all the way through, and obviously the ones at the top are really good in my opinion. But from 1992, Fear of the Dark would come next. It's a step up from No Prayer for the Dying, but that, to be honest with you, wasn't hard. There are a couple of standout tracks on this, which is why it's gone up the ranking a little bit. Afraid to Shoot Strangers is a great song, very much an anti-war song, and of course the title track Fear of the Dark in concert became something of a classic. So that's my UK original copy, and that was the last album I bought on theirs on vinyl for quite some time. I kind of shifted to CD, and then the albums that came after this I had to pick up when they reissued them, but I fortuitously kept hold of all my Iron Maiden first presses, but that was the last one I bought on vinyl. I switched to CD thereafter, but yeah, it's okay. It's not top tier, but it's slightly better than the three that have just gone before it. So that would be number 14 from 92. Next one is their 13th one, and I think from here on in all of these albums are good. So I'm going with this one next. What I love about this album, it's a theme album. It's probably a very cohesive album, and this would be a matter of life and death. So this is one of the albums when Bruce Dickinson rejoined the band. I think around 1999 he came back, and also more importantly Adrian Smith came back with him. So they went then to a 3-guitar lineup, got their second singer back, and they haven't really looked back since that kind of reunion to kind of time. But great album. I do love the cover artwork. That to me is always a good sign that the band have have got that back on site. So Matter of Life and Death. Standout track for me, the reincarnation of Benjamin Buddig, and that's a good kind of almost proggy kind of song, but it's just a really solid album. This one, very again, there's a definitely the military, anti-military, anti-war kind of thing on this. Actually, that's probably wrong. Actually, they're not anti-military, they're anti-war, but they do write a lot of songs about the plight of the soldier who has to follow orders and things like that. So very, very good album. That would be my 13th one. Number 12 will be again another more recent one. So this is from 2010. This is The Final Frontier. Again, phenomenal cover artwork. What I liked about this one, the start actually took me by surprise, because the opening track is like a join track of Satellite 15 and The Final Frontier. It's kind of an instrumental, then goes off to another song, totally different time signatures like that one. There's a couple of big epics towards the end, When the Wild Wind Blows, The Man Who Would Be King, The Talisman, all really good songs. It's a more lighter song called Coming Home, which is an Adrian Smith song. So I do like that one. Again, phenomenal artwork, isn't it? You just love anything to do with Iron Maiden. But that's a good, solid album from 2010. And I just think they get better and better now. The next one is from 2003, which would be Dance of the Death. Now, a slight misstep on the cover artwork, because that features a computerized version. That's not great, is it? But there's some absolutely brilliant music in here. The one I particularly love is Passchendaele, which is very much obviously again a military kind of song. But the title track, Dance of the Death, is like almost like a Jethro Tull kind of song. Really, really good. Bit unusual for mine as well. So that would be my number 11. That would be Dance of the Death from 2003. Here you go. So I just want to show you this. They did change their logo slightly. So if you look on that one, the logo is everything's at the same height. But the original logo, if you look, has got things that come down. And I'm glad to say they did bring it back. So there you go. That's how the logo should be. You know what? I didn't notice that till I was digging all these albums, and hold on, that looks a bit different. And that's why there's a section where they flatten the logo. And yeah, so I'm probably giving away what I'm doing into my top 10 now. So the next one is Dance of the Death. So this was I think a triple vinyl. And a double CD. So I think this was their first proper official double album. Book of Souls. The songs are getting longer and longer and longer. I went to see this too, and what I liked about it when I did this too is they didn't compromise basically. So they played a lot of this album as well as the hits as such. But to me, and I think that's important for a band that's releasing new music, that you don't shy away from it. I'll give them the due, they do anniversary shows, but they also do promote their new albums when they come out. So great album. The standout track for me, the final track, Empire of the Clouds, a side-long epic, again about, I think that's about the airship that crashed there. Is it the Hindenburg? But it's a really good, solid album as well. Speed of Light was a great single. All of it. Tears of a Clown's an interesting one. That's about the comedian Robin Smith, is it? Yeah, very good, very good. Oh, Robin Smith, who's the comedian? Walker Mindy, that one. Anyway, it's gone from me brain now, but a really good good album this. So that will be my number 10. So number 9. So now this I've got to kind of just get out of the sleeve because this is again a phenomenal package. So 2021, their most recent studio album would be for me Senjutsu. I mean, again, this is just phenomenal. Another triple vinyl. Look at this for a bit of glory there. I mean, how good's that? So yeah, so and the music, what I like about this one, it's slightly different. It did change around a little bit. The preview single, Right on the Wall, was a proper rocker. That's a good song. But again, as the album goes on, you get these big epic songs at the end, like Hell on Earth, The Parchment, Death of the Celts. Great song about Churchill called Darkest Hour. But the opening songs took me by surprise a bit. Senjutsu and Strategio, really good. So love that album. So that would be my number 9. So number 8. So Iron Maiden, initially their first 2 albums are quite significantly different to really most of the catalogue. Very much punky, and so although they were a new wave of British heavy metal band, they kind of came up through the punk era. So one of the reasons I think they were seen as a little bit refreshing is they were a lot kind of faster and harder than some of the traditional kind of rock. I do think I made a little bit of gratitude to Judas Priest and UFO, but they did their own thing. But my number 8 would be Killers, and this was the last album that featured Paul Di'Anno. Very strong album. I mean, the artwork for a start off is phenomenal. Got some great stuff on here. Wrathchild, one of my favourites. Murders in the Rue Morgue, Innocent Exile. It's just a good, solid album with phenomenal packaging once again. For some reason, this was always tainted a little bit by what came after is Where I Came In. And the band around the time of the release of the follow-up to this didn't talk about these years with much flattery, if you like. They kind of were at pains to kind of suggest that their first singer was not up to the job as such. And I think I'm glad to see in more recent years they've been a little bit kind to there. He was just a different type of singer, but he suited the times of that kind of post-punk kind of era. So yeah, so Paul Di'Anno on this one. This is also the first album that featured Adrian Smith, who's I think a very important figure in the Maiden story. So number 8, that would be that one. For some reason, as I say, that one, of all the 80s albums, one of the ones I listened to least, because I think a mate taped it me, and because I got it on tape, I never bothered rushing out and buying it. I did eventually get it. That is a UK original, but yeah, for some reason that those kind of early albums, this was the one I came to towards the end really. So maybe that's why it's down a little bit. Yeah, number 7, classics all the way from now on in. Somewhere in Time. I mean, artwork phenomenal again. A whole Blade Runner kind of thing. It's got one of my absolute favourites in Stranger in a Strange Land. I love that song. It's got a proper epic kind of riff on it. It's got the one that is a fan favourite, Alexander the Great, which they played live, I think, for the first time on their most recent tour. And they twinned this album with Senjutsu as like a double header album. Sea of Madness is a good one. Wasted Years was the single. So yeah, good album, good solid Iron Maiden album. Can't go on with that. Number 6 from 2000. I thought this is a phenomenal album. It's got, as the years go by, I listen to it more and more and more. So this is the Brave New World. What a phenomenal album this is. Got one of my absolute favourite songs in Blood Brother. That's a great song. Out of the Silent Planet, another good one. The Wicker Man was a single. It's just a fab album, and it was so good to see that lineup back. So that was the expanded lineup, 3 guitarists, Bruce Dickinson back in the fold, and a phenomenal album. And that would be my number 6. So top 5. 1988 next. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. The first one that kind of had a concept, and I think the reason I was so disappointed with No Prayer for the Dying that followed this one up there's a massive drop off. This is a phenomenally good album. The follow up was for me was a big disappointment. It took me a long time to get back to this type of standard, but great album. Wonderful artwork. This, you know, it's probably the last of the great Derek Hicks covers, Riggs covers even. Moonchild, great opener. There was a lot of singles. I actually managed to pull 4 singles from this one. So Infinite Dreams was a single. Can I Play With Madness, which a lot of people know. The Evil That Men Do and the Clairvoyant were the singles. It's a good album. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, the title track's good. It's proper kind of epic-y, and there is an overall kind of concept as such, but just a great album. So that was from 1988. Next up, from 1984, and I remember going to buy this album when it came out, Powerslave. This is the one that's got Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner on. It's got one of my favourites in it, Aces High. The first single was 2 Minutes to Midnight, which is over there, which is again another one of my favourites. It's got the second part of The Prisoner kind of double bill, Back in the Village. Title track, Powerslave, brilliant, and it's got a 13-minute epic called Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner to kind of close. So you just can't really go wrong with that, can you, on that? What a phenomenal bit of artwork as well. So brilliant album. My 4th most favourite Iron Maiden album from 1984. Next up, from 1983, the first album that featured Nico McBain on drums, and he's been there ever since. And this is the absolutely brilliant Peace of Mind. The first album I bought of theirs on release. My poor old mum, who worked for Boots the Chemist, I used to tell her to say, can you find out if the Iron Maiden's albums are yet? And eventually she did get one. You know, fabulous artwork. You know, it's got one of my all-time favourite labels. You know, I see a Brain label for dinner. I mean, come on, you can't go wrong with this, can you? The music on this is brilliant. It's got The Trooper on it, which I think has become one of their signature songs over the years. A great single, In Flight of Icarus. I did mention Where Eagles Dare, a great opening, Entertainment Land, which is the one that was supposed to be called June. But for me, there's a couple of tracks. Still Life, great one, but my favourite is Revelations, and that's Bruce Dickinson writing. That's a fabulous song. So yeah, Peace of Mind would be my 3rd most favourite. My 2nd most favourite is the debut, just called Iron Maiden. There's the first appearance on an album sleeve of Eddie the Head, who was their mascot. Started off very much as a disembodied floating head on stage, and they built a whole image around that. And I think there's the fact that they're a band that they don't appear on their album sleeves just gives them a little bit of immortality. I think they learnt a lot from bands like Kiss about strong kind of band logos and a phenomenal kind of record. Now, this is the most punk of the Iron Maiden albums. The band were never particularly happy with the production by Will Malone, and Dennis Stratton left after this album as well, but the songs on this phenomenal. Prowler, if you haven't heard any Iron Maiden, give that one a check out. It's not what you'd expect, a proper fast rocker. Running Free was the big single from that, but the song that is probably most famous in the album is Phantom of the Opera. It was used in a Lucasade ad in the 80s in England. The title track, Iron Maiden, is on here. They play that in concert pretty much at the end every time. The song I really like is the second track, Remember Tomorrow. The Number of the Beast single had a live version with Bruce Dickinson singing it, and that's a great track. But this is the Paul Di'Anno version. Charlotte the Harlot, they did go back and redo a sequel to that on the another album. But great band, Iron Maiden. First album from 1980. So you'll probably have guessed what my favourite is. And it is my all-time #1 album in my ranking will be The Number of the Beast. It's where I came in. I was a little bit unhappy with them. They did an anniversary issue of this, and they took Gangland off and put Total Eclipse, which was a B-side of Run to the Hills, on. Don't mess with classic albums, you know. So Total Eclipse is a great song. It's one of my all-time favourite B-sides, but it shouldn't have been on the album. Gangland is on the album. That's where it should have stayed. But that gripe aside, this is a phenomenal album. So I always liked the opener Invaders, even though the band didn't seem to like it. But from there on in, Children of the Damned, a little acoustic thing with a big chorus. The TV themed The Prisoner with You Are Not a Number, I'm a Free Man. I'll remember that. That comes up next. 22 Acacia Avenue is a bit of a banger. That's the sequel to Charlotte the Harlot. Side 2 opens with Number of the Beast, which is one of my all-time favourites. Then the one we all know, Run to the Hills, Gangland, which I think that's absolutely fine, and that's a good bit of light and shade between those opening songs and the absolute epic, possibly my all-time favourite Iron Maiden track, Hallowed Be Thy Name, about the man who's waiting for the executioner and the hangman to come. Martin Birch produced a lot of these 80s albums, and must give him a shout out because he did a phenomenal job. The Iron Maiden albums sound brilliant. That will be my all-time number one. So good I even bought a cassette just because it was cheap on Amazon. Do love this band, and yeah, so thank you for watching. Let me know what you think. I know we do these ranking videos, and people may agree or disagree or think I'm talking rubbish, but I just think they're a brilliant band, and to be fair, I wouldn't be without any of their records. But that's my favourite. It's where I came in. It was lent to me by a friend. I taped it and bought the album a little bit later, and this is still my original copy from Erdington Market. I bought that one from. I could probably do with the upgrade copy. I was going to buy the anniversary issue, but because they took that track off, it annoyed me, so I didn't. But it's probably one of the few things I haven't bought by Maiden. But phenomenal band. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. What more can one ask for? Look at that artwork. Sorry, I just keep coming back to it. It's brilliant, isn't it? So yeah, great band. Love them. And cannot wait to see them next year on what will be their 50th anniversary tour. I've lost my doobie thing to stop the video, hence I'm shuffling up to the camera. But thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Gav Axman Spins. I have to do that thing of if you are already subscribed and are watching this, thank you very much. If you've watched this and you haven't yet subscribed, please do. It helps channels like this kind of grow and move and all that type of stuff. So, but thank you for watching. Up the irons, and I'll see you on the next one.